Okay, we are recording now. So, everyone, welcome to a presentation about validator security. All right, so on the agenda are going to be these very important key topics of discussion: the importance of security, why we all need to be worried and taking steps to maintain our security. Also, what needs to be made secure. I get a lot of questions, especially when I'm helping people, of is this safe to share, with BLS keys or something like that? And can I show you this? And they're trying to figure out what to black out, or, as we're trying to help them with their validator. So we'll be covering that. And then also ways to help secure your validator, passwords, firewall, fail to ban, SSH keys. And what a lot of people are very interested in is 2FA or two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. And we have guides about all of those topics. So going into the importance of validator security, as many of you may know or may not know, the Harmony blockchain is operated by the leader nodes. Harmony is the leader. They're running the leader nodes. They're really processing the transactions, and we're building consensus with them. So we're not in control right now. So if we mess up, Harmony still has the leader nodes and can fix problems, like with what happened with Shard 1 the other day. They were able to bring that all back online. But there will be a time where we're going to be in control. And so we need to know how to keep our validators secure, and how to maintain good security practices. So any comments in regarding that? No? All right, I'll move on. Okay, the wallet. Um, the validator wallet is a hot wallet. This is not and cannot actually be protected by a ledger, unfortunately. I think we would all feel much better if we had that security feature on our wallet. So this means that if you have your wallet compromised, someone else can be taking your rewards or messing with your validator, screwing with your bids. And there's pretty much nothing you can do about it if that happens. You can't try and take all your delegators to a new validator. Your validator identity is tied to the wallet. So it's very important to keep this private, to keep this secure. You want to try and be limiting access. And this part is going to be hard. And I think the people in here know it's really easy to be voting with a browser wallet. Ideally, we should be using the CLI or the command line interface when voting. It's a lot more secure if we use the wallet and keep it on the server and not have it anywhere else outside of the server. I know we're going to have the new snapshot. And honestly, I haven't tried voting with the new snapshot through the CLI. The CLI breaks often, unfortunately. So that's also why we should be pushing for the CLI voting, because it's going to help us keep our wallets secure, but also tell Harmony that it's important, that we need to keep the CLI up to date. Many times I go to try and vote with the CLI, and lo and behold, it doesn't work. And then I'm messaging Harmony, and please fix it again. Some things that people might not realize, or validators might not realize: you don't need to keep the wallet on the validator. You don't need to keep it on all your validators. A validator will continue to sign without a wallet. What it does need, though, is the wallet to interact with the blockchain. That's how the blockchain knows that you are you and you're making the request to add a key, remove a key, edit the validator, etc. Of course, you need to use a passphrase when you have your wallet there. I think you actually can't interact with the blockchain unless you have a passphrase on your wallet. Keep that passphrase unique and keep it secure. You can also change the passphrase. You can't change the wallet. If you lose your keys or words to your wallet, you're in trouble. But you can change the passphrase. You can, remove the wallet from the server and put a new passphrase. And of course, no sharing. I know we had some validator who was like, I'm done. I want to sell my validator though to someone else because I have a ton of delegations, and wouldn't it be nice if someone else could take over this? And it would be like, oh wow, that's so great. You could just take a validator from someone. But no, you're going to have a compromised wallet. And if for whatever reason that person gets mad at you or something happens, they now can get you slashed and banned when that gets implemented. Or they can start taking your rewards and you're doing all the work. So there's a lot of, you really should not be sharing that outside of your server. So any comments in regarding the wallet?
I didn't have anything regarding the wallet, but just wanted to apologize for me disconnecting there. My Discord froze up. I don't know what happened there, but my apologies. And hello,
Oh,
everyone. Thank you for coming.
yes. Oh, and I'm sorry. James is my co-instructor or leader of this group. I didn't introduce himself, and I didn't introduce myself. I'm co-kin with the Hank the Crank Validator team, but everyone just calls me Hank because it's easier, and that's fine. Hank's a cool name anyway. But welcome, guys. And yeah, I was just curious. Pie Steak, if you don't mind me calling you out, but I know your mic works. Uh, did you know that you didn't need the wallet on the validator? Okay, and I probably should ask beforehand if I can ask people questions.
I had no
Oh,
idea.
great. Hi. Oh, you had no idea. Oh, lab
Yeah,
guy. Perfect. Yes.
yeah, very, very interesting. You don't need the wallet attached to it; it'll keep going. It's pretty cool.
Yes.
All
And
right,
also later on, when we discuss other aspects of the server, um, you can run the Harmony program, um, the Hemi program, sorry, and interact with a wallet without having any of the other, like the rclone database or anything. You can just have, like, on your computer, let's say you're away from your validator. You don't, for some other reason, I don't know, you get locked out for whatever happened. You can't access your validator, but the epic's changing and you need to add a key, remove a key, whatever. You can just go into your computer and load up the Hemi program and your wallet, import your wallet, and then interact right there. You don't need to be on your validator in order to make changes to the blockchain. So,
okay.
yeah, this really opens up some possibilities for people, and like, oh no, I'm not home, or I don't have my SSH keys, or I can't get into my validator. Well, if you're able to get into the load up the Hemi program, you can then interact with the blockchain that way and do what you need to do. So yes, and welcome, Titus. I'm so glad to have you here.
Yes, welcome, Titus.
All right, so
Yeah, thanks for all that.
moving on to the BLS keys. So this is what I was talking about in the beginning, that there's certain things that people don't know is public or don't know what's private. So in regards to the BLS key, your BLS key file name, like the big long string of numbers, that's public. That is on the blockchain. Anyone who looks at the blockchain, and it's also on smartstake.io if you want to go check and look at different validators, you can see their BLS keys. And so I always tell the story that, I'll be helping someone and they'll be blacking out their BLS key file name. And as a, funny joke, I go onto the blockchain and I get it, their number, and I paste it back to them. And they're like, oh, how did you get that? And yeah, that's public information. So you don't need to worry about someone seeing your BLS key file names. What is important, though, is that's an encrypted file. So the file is important. You should not be sharing that file around. That needs to be secure. Now, how BLS keys work is, there's the .key file and the .pass file, basically the key file and then the password file. That's why it's called .pass file. You need that pass in order to decrypt the file, the BLS key file. So if your BLS key file gets compromised, hopefully they don't have your passphrase, and you can change your BLS key. You can delete, destroy, get rid of those BLS keys. Of course, if you're signing with it, don't do that. Wait until after the epic change. But your BLS key is more interchangeable than your wallet. Your wallet is something you really need to have incredible security for and not share it at all. The BLS keys are recoverable. So what happens if someone gets your BLS key and they have your passphrase? Right now, it's not a big deal. They can actually use it, start signing for you, and thank you, you're increasing my signing rate. Like not going to miss any signs when you're helping me use my BLS key. Later on, that will be a huge problem. When they implement slashing and banning, if someone has your BLS key and they have a vendetta against you, or they just want to do it because they think it's funny to basically ruin your validator, double signing with a BLS key will lead to slashing and banning. So it's going to be really important when we make that transition to make sure that your keys are secure. And some people have talked about making all new keys when the change happens, just in case, or things of that nature. Now, some have said, oh, well, is it really good security to have different BLS passwords for each key? If you want to do that, you can, but they only need one compromised key. So it doesn't really matter if you use different passwords for each BLS key. As long as they get one key and your password, you're in trouble. It is, though, a great idea, though, to use different passphrases for your wallet, for your server, and for your BLS keys. You shouldn't be using the same password for all of those. And then, again, good advice, no sharing BLS key files. That can lead you into trouble later on. Anyone have any things they want to share about BLS keys?
Nothing really to share, but I do want to say that that's awesome. I honestly didn't know that we could do that, remove the BLS keys after the Harmony services started. So that's a really good thing to know, because you only need to replace the keys there if you restart the service, like you do an update or reboot your server. Then you can upload the keys back and the pass file. But then after that, you can delete them once the service is started. So that's really nice that you can do that.
This is being edited in after the fact. We had some confusion regarding the BLS keys, so I just want to take a moment to explain that the BLS keys and the pass file should not be deleted from your server. If you do delete them, you will continue to sign until the Harmony service is restarted. However, it may restart for whatever reason beyond your control. So do not delete BLS keys. Obviously, the time to change your keys is during an epic change. And then you can do the edit validator command and say add a key. You first have to add a key. You can't have 0 keys registered to the blockchain. It'll complain. It'll actually throw an error and say, no, you need at least 1. And so you have to add a key, and then you can remove a key. And that's essentially changing your key. And the next epic change, you will be signing with the new key that you just added. But yeah, that's why I've had people accidentally delete their keys and then restart the Harmony service, and now they have no keys. And that is a problem. You can't, so a pass file you can just recreate. A pass file is basically just a text file with your passphrase in it. In order for the Harmony, I think it's the Harmony program. Yeah, the Harmony program, in order to use your pass file to decrypt your BLS key. If you just, that thing's an encrypted file that's created once you ran the BLS key generation command. So if you delete that file and you don't have it backed up anywhere, you're in trouble. So you need to make sure that you're very careful when you're messing around your server, that you don't delete the keys while you're signing with that key. All right. So moving on to the server. Some basic things I'm sure that you guys all know and love. Changing the default password. So many programs, or I'm sorry, many providers, when they set you up with a server, they'll email you your login information. They'll tell you, like, use admin, or here's your password. Obviously, email is insecure. So we don't want our passwords and our information there. We want to go in and change it. And if you need help to do that, we do have some lovely guides here that I can see if it will. Did it change for you guys?
Yeah, I see the improving security, password, firewall, and fail to ban.
Okay, great. Perfect. Thank you. Because I don't see I don't see what you guys are seeing. So it's a very simple command in order to change your password on your server. You just type that in, and then it will ask you, what do you want to change your new password to? That's all lovely. Of course, you had to configure your firewall in order to get your validator to work. And also, many sites have, many cloud providers have, it on their website, that you can do open and close ports on their website. So that makes it nice and easy. Fail to ban. I know a lot of the people who are in the Validator Initiative chat know all about this, but some of the newer people I've been finding or people who are outside of that Telegram chat group aren't necessarily aware of this. This helps and protects against brute force attacks on your server. And so I love this. So this tells you all about how to set it up. I'm trying to scroll down too. Okay, yeah, here you see in red where it says sudo fail to ban client status SSD.
Yep. Yeah, we can see it.
I think, yeah, that's not the command I use. But anyway, I think what it will show you is like a list. I just look at the log file actually, but you can see a list of everyone that's been banned, and I love seeing like how high my ban count can get. And then also you can, as the slide was saying earlier, you can allow your IP in the fail to ban. so you don't accidentally ban yourself. And then, you can also, you know, do block listing of, IPs, but just be careful with a lot of this in general. When you start messing with the firewalls and things like that, I've heard so many stories, including myself, of getting locked out, and that can be a hassle. Some other things to help protect is setting up SSH keys, multi-factor authentication, disabling root access. That's also a big thing with security. When a lot of server providers, cloud providers give you your login information, they don't. They give you root access, right? So that's another reason why you want to change the password and also disable root access, because what you want to have ideally is a SSH user that you set up, and that's in the guides as well. And then you sign in as a SSH user, and then you sign in to your Harmony user or whatever user you installed the Harmony program on. And then, of course, no sharing access. People shouldn't be on your server. Security basics. And I kind of already went over this with the passwords, the firewalls, and the fail to ban. With the firewalls, the guides show UFW. You can also use IP tables if you want, but if you have UFWs, you have IP tables. UFWs is built on top of IP tables. They're, I believe it's IP tables will override UFW, but otherwise, either is fine in configuring. Otherwise, using the website for firewalls is the most easiest, and I think most intuitive for people. All right, does anyone have any comments, suggestions, or questions about passwords, firewalls, and fail to ban?
Only one thing maybe I could add about fail to ban is it's always good to set all the different options that you can in the config file to sort of randomize the ban times and all that, because there are bots out there that can, like the standard fail to ban has a standard pattern that it bans, so they try to avoid that. But if you randomize that a bit with the settings in the config file, it actually makes it way more effective at banning even bots that are like that kind of learn the pattern to your fail to ban, and that prevents that from happening.
Oh, I did not know that. You'll have to do a write-up or an explanation of what setting is in the config file in order to do that.
Will do. It's not that hard, really. It's just a few different things in there you can adjust to basically just randomize the numbers more that bots wouldn't be able to predict it.
All right, so just moving on, next, our favorite SSH keys. A lot of server providers have SSH key management on their website. I know two of our least favorite providers right now, DigitalOcean and Contabo, have SSH key management right on the website. But we do have guides on how to set that up if the server you're using does not have that capability, or if you have like a local home server that you're running. An SSH key just helps with, it's just another authentication in order to log in. And we also suggest putting a password on the SSH key or a passphrase in order to further improve security, as those keys can be stolen. And so what's the purpose of it if someone can just grab the file and log in with it? Anyone want to share anything about SSH keys?
I guess everybody's pretty familiar with those. I would think by now, at least most in here at the time, seems like it.
Yeah, I famously locked myself out of my server trying to set up a what's that thing called? Um, UB key. I locked myself out using that.
Oh, that was uh, multi-factor authentication, not the SSH key, though, right?
No, it wasn't, but I couldn't even get in the basic SSH key after that because I was using the the basic Windows um, forget the PuTTY. I was using PuTTY program, and on Windows, if you don't interact with it for like a minute or so, it automatically logs you out of the server,
Oh,
and I
yes.
wasn't aware of that. So in the middle of me researching how to do step by step on the documentation, it locked me out. So
Wow.
I couldn't finish giving the proper authentication to the YubiKey, which locked me out of the server entirely. And that was my first time it happening to me. And since I was so new, I freaked out. And yeah, it was just a whole mess.
Yeah,
Oh
I
no.
can imagine. Um, yeah, so here's the guide about setting up the SSH keys and, like brother brought up, it is very important to make sure that you don't close the window or the window doesn't time out while you're working on this. I think in the guide it even says you open a window and leave it and then open a second window and be working in that window so that you always have the first window open. And if it does have some sort of timeout, you're then made aware of it and you have the second window open. So, yeah, it's both with SSH keys and multi multi-factor authentication. It is very important to make sure you still have a at least one window open and keep it open and work in the second window, and then even try and test through a third window. So yeah, it's important, but it's annoying. And yeah, you can get locked out, but it's a great aspect in terms of security. So but yeah, in terms of the SSH keys, if you can manage it on the website, that's also one of the reasons to try and use the providers tools, because it's harder then for you to get locked out because you can just fix it on the website, right?
Yeah. And also in regards to the timeout, if you do have terminal windows that time out on you, a lot of the terminal programs, they either have a setting in their preferences where you can send a keep alive, and a lot of times you can even adjust the interval at which you can do that. So I usually set mine at like 15 seconds, where it just sends a signal every like 15 seconds or so to keep the terminal session active, like as if a user is there. That way it don't time out. Like on Mac OS, I go in my home folder for my user account, and there's a SSH config file in there, and I just add it in there. But like Windows or some of the apps, even for Mac, you can set it right in the preferences for the app for the keep alive command.
Okay, yeah, great. I did not, I mean, it makes sense that there's a keep alive, but I had not tried that yet.
Yep, and there's some other things too, like Mosh, MOSH. If you look that up, it's something you can use for terminal. There's quite a few things out there. I'll write something up for with a lot of these little things here that I'm mentioning. I'm taking notes of it. So
Oh, great. Yeah. Especially, I know a bunch of people here are running for governor, and that's one of the things that I was doing, was writing a lot of the guides. And I want to take a moment to circle back because I didn't get to say this in the beginning, and that when you're following the guides that are currently up on the Validator DAO Notion site or on the Medium site, it's not the only way to do it. There is so many different tools that people prefer or different ways of going about things. Even sometimes the way you put in a command can be done differently. So, a good example being like I use IP tables or using UFW. There's just so many different ways. And writing a guide isn't like a choose your own adventure story where I could sit there and go through every different iteration that everyone wants or comes up with. So the guides are literally meant to have like a starting point, and I try to walk you through and then at the end lead you to the next guide. And then you'll find if you ever go through the whole thing that sometimes you're making changes that you were told to change before, but now changing back. There's all these different things that happen as you're following the guides. And the reason is, like with SSH keys, for example, if you're just having SSH keys without, 2FA, the settings are different. But if you have SSH keys and 2FA, you need to change some of those things that you changed earlier for the SSH keys. And, it's hard to write the guides like that. So the whole thing is like, okay, I'll just lead you this one path and you can see how it's all done, see the settings, hopefully learn some things, because I try and explain commands, try and explain programs that are being used, etc. And then once you travel the whole journey and arrived at your destination, if you want to go back and take and explore a different path on your own, by all means. But it would just be impossible to write all of the different guides for how everyone wants to use things. And then especially my Mac users out there, I'm sorry, the guides are not written for Mac users. Hopefully in the future, though, we'll get some Mac guides up for you guys.
And I'll be glad to assist with that. I've been using Mac OS for quite some time now.
Okay. So moving on to the next slide about 2FA authentication. It's just another layer of security. Some validators feel like it's overdoing it. And wow, my slides are terrible here. I rushed this last one, as you can tell. Another feature 2 for marketing. But yeah, that was something that I used as a validator to kind of show off that I have the knowledge and capability of that level of security for my server. And so, to delegators, that really sounds like nice. Like, wow, the servers are really protected. You need, you have this 2FA authentication going on, and, it's just another selling point. So what type of authenticators can be used? You can use the Google one, which is on mobile. I actually don't know if it's on desktop. I haven't tried that. There's also Authy, which has a mobile and desktop version. A lot of people recommend that because the Google one, I believe if you lose your phone, you could lose access to your authenticator. And obviously that would be bad. If you lose your phone and you have Authy, you're fine. You just pull up your Authy account and you can log in and retrieve it. But, some people say, oh, well, the Google Authenticator's more secure because it's not based on a login type thing, which if someone can just log in with your info, then they have your authentication codes. So, that's just whatever your comfort level is if you guys want to pursue this. Obviously, the highest level of security with multi-factor authentication is hardware authenticators. Brother, that's what you were bringing up earlier with your YubiKey. There are guides on the official Harmony docs on how to set that up. I must say they are not the easiest to follow. They're mixed in with some other things. So, sorry about that. This is something that I've always wanted to do, is to get a hardware authenticator. I have the Google Titan hardware authenticator for my Gmail stuff, and I just haven't had the time to sit down and figure out how it would work with SSH. I'm not even sure that the Google Titan authenticators are compatible. Within the guide, I say what kind of authenticators work. Within the guides here, and I'll bring it up.
And I think as long as it's a time-based authentication, it should work, correct?
So it's very specific. It is time based, but it has to be. I believe it's called open authentication. So OAuth-TOTP, that type of authenticator, or that type of app. Those are what's compatible.
Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, I did that because I wasn't sure if others would be wanting to explore with their types of authenticators. So what this guide is showing is what's called PAM. And yeah, there it is. Google's PAM. So this is what's being used to interact with the SSH authentication. Now, I think, James, you were able to use just an authenticator without an SSH key. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, what it was is at first I didn't have an SSH key to set up. I was just using fail to ban and password authentication. So what I first had to do is set up a SSH key manually and then follow the guide for the two-factor authentication. And I set that up with Authy successfully. It did work.
Okay, so I know some people especially want to be able to access their validators very easily when they're on mobile, and they don't want to be carrying around SSH keys on their phone. So this is an option. If you don't want to do SSH keys, you can do just the authenticator. Or if you just want to do SSH keys, you can do that. There's a lot of things that you can do here based on your comfort level and what type of security you want to have.
Yeah, basically what I have right now on the one that I tested it with, I have SSH key authentication local side. It'll ask for the password for that, and then it'll ask for the authenticator code. So it's kind of like a double layer of security there.
Yes. All right. So this is the end of the presentation here, and I will be stopping the recording, and you'll then be able to ask any questions or talk about anything you like, and it will not be recorded. So I'm going to stop the recording right now.